Welcome to Beaded Doilies by Shell. In this video I'll be creating one of my faceted bead art letter squares using the right angle weave. When you use the right angle weave with one of my square patterns, you will want to start in one of the four corners. I like to start in the bottom right. And this is row 1. You'll want to add first the innermost bead of row 1, and then you can go either direction. I'm going to go this way. So we need to add a design color followed by 3 background colors. Now when you add 4, I like to let them drop down, and then I find the first bead I just added and I go through it again so my string is coming out on the same side. And there we have row 1, which is only 4 beads. Now for row 2 we're going to want to increase by 1, and one way to know which side to do is the second bead you added. That's the side you're going to want to start on. So we're going to start on this side. And because with the one needle stitch you increase 2 different ways, with it, because the first row is only 4 beads, you are all set to increase what I call one step increase. So for the one step, you just add the first 4 beads of your new row all at the same time. So we're going to put on 2 design colors, followed by 2 background colors. And again, when you add on 4 beads, you find that first one and thread through it so that your string is coming out on the same side. And there we have row 1 and the beginning of row 2. Now our string is coming away from row 1, so we're going to add the next 2 beads in this order. So we need a design followed by a background. Then because we added 2, we want to go through 2 so we see where our string is coming out, and we want the bead that is attached to this on the opposite side and the bead that our string is coming out of. And there we have our first row and the beginning of our second. Now we want to be on the end, the end of our second row, so we need to go through the 2 beads we just added. And now we're coming in towards our first row, so we're going to add the last 3 beads for this row in this order. So that's 3 background colors. When you add 3 beads, you want to find the bead that your string is exiting and go through it so that your string is exiting on the same side. And there we have row 1 and row 2. Row 1 and row 2 complete. Now our string is coming out on the same side as row 1, and we need it on the opposite side. So we're going to go through all 3 beads that we just added. Now our string is coming away from the end of our row. So when that happens, you want to do what I call the two-step increase. Your string is coming down this way, so you're going to add these 3 beads. So that is 2 design colors and a background color. Then, as I said before, when you add 3, you want to find the bead that your string is coming out of and go through it. And now we are coming away from the end of our row, but we need to add these 3. So we're going to go through all 3 beads that we just added so we can add on the end of our row, which is the second step. So go through all 3 beads. And now our string is coming in towards our previous row, so we're going to add the last 3 beads, or I should say the first 3 beads in this order. So that's 3 background colors. And when we add 3, we find the bead that our string is coming out of and go through it. And now we want to get ourselves in position to continue our row, so we want to be on through this end bead here. So we need to go through this side bead that connects to the previous row and the end bead. So we go down through the side bead. Yeah, got wrapped up there. Okay, and then go through the end bead, and now we are in position to continue our row. And as our string is coming away from the previous row, we're going to add the next 2 beads in this order. So we need a background color and a design color. Then when you add 2 beads, you want to see where your string is coming out, and you want to see which side bead of the previous row is next, and you want to go through the side bead and then the bead that your string is coming out of. And now we want to be at the top again, so we go through the 2 beads we just added. And as we are coming in towards the previous row, we also want to go through the side bead that is going to be part of the set we are adding. So this time we're coming out of the previous row, so we're going to add these 2 in this order. So we need a design and then a background. Now our string is coming out of the side bead of the previous row, so we want to go through our end bead and the side bead. Now we want to be at the end again, so we just go through that top bead, puts us at the end of our row. And now our string is coming away, away from the previous row, so we're going to add the last 3 beads in this order. So we need a design color and 2 background colors. And as we have added 3 beads, we want to find the bead that our string is coming out of and go through it, so our string is coming out on the same side. And now we want to go through this first side bead to get us in position to begin our next row. And as our string is coming out towards the end of our row, we can do the 1 step increase. So we will add in this order. And we need 4 background colors. And as we added 4, we find that first bead, thread through it again in the same direction. And there we have the first 4 beads of this row. And our string is coming away from the previous row, so we're going to add the first 2 or next 2 in this order. So we need a background and then a design. Now we look and we need to go through 2 beads. So because we're coming out of the end bead, we need to go through the side bead and then the end bead. And that attaches us to the previous row. Now we go through the 2 beads we just added to get us to the end of our row. And as we're coming in towards the previous row, we also need to go through the side bead. And that has us ready for our next set of beads. And we're coming out the side bead, so we add in this order. So that is a background and a design. Now we're coming out the side, so we want to go through the end bead and then the side bead. Then we go through our end bead, so we're at the end of our row. And we're set for the next set. Now here we're coming away from our previous row, so we're going to add in this order be 2 background colors. Now as we're coming out of the end, we'll go through the side bead first and then the end bead. Then we will go through the next, or get ourselves back to the top or end of our row. And as we're coming in towards the previous row, we will go through the side bead. And we're coming out the side bead, so we add in this order. We need a design, then a background, and we're coming out the side bead, so we go in the end bead first and then through the side bead, and then we position ourselves at the end of the row. And we're coming out away from the previous, so we add in this order. Now we need a design and a background. We're coming out the end bead, so we'll go through the side first and then the end bead. And we want to get to the top of our, or the end of our row, so we'll go through the 2 beads we just added. Now our string is coming in towards our previous row. So the last 3 we'll add in this order. And they're all background colors. And when you add 3, you just find that bead that your string is coming out of and go through it so your string's coming out on the same side. And there we have finished that row. Now the next row is shorter, so we need to do a decrease. For a decrease, you want to be coming out the second side bead instead of the first one. So instead of going up and around, we want to go down and around. So we want to go away from the beads we just added. And then out. And then up through that second bead on the side of our row. So you want your string coming out of the second bead on the side of your row. And we are coming up towards the end of the previous row, so we're going to add the first 3 beads in this order. So we need 2 background colors. And a design color. Then you find the bead that your string is coming out of, go through it so your string's coming out on the same side. And we want to get to the end of our row, so we want to go through all 3 beads we just added. That puts us through the end bead of our row. And as we're coming in towards the previous row, we also want to go through the side bead. And we are coming out the side bead, so we're going to add in this order. So we need a background followed by a design. And as we added 2 and we're coming out of the side bead, we want to go through the end bead first. And then through the side bead. And we want to go through our new end bead so that we're ready for the next set. And as we're coming out the end bead, we're going to add the next 2 in this order. So that's 2 design colors. And we're coming out the end, so we'll go through the side bead first. And then through the end bead. And then we want to get to our new end bead, so we'll go through both beads we just added. And as that brings us in towards the previous row, we also go through the side bead. Now we're coming out our side beads, so we'll add these 2 in this order. So that's 2 background colors. And we're coming out the side bead, so we go through our end bead first, then our side bead. And we'll now go through our new end bead. And we're ready for the next set. And we're coming out our end bead, so we add the last 2 in this order. Add on our last 2 beads for this row. coming out the end, so we'll go through the side bead and then the end bead. And now our next row is shorter, so we want to be coming out the second side bead. So as we're already coming out our finished row, we just need to go down through that second side bead, and we're in position for our next row. So this time we're coming down or away from the end of our row. So we're going to add these in this order. And that's 3 background colors. And as we added 3 beads, we just find the bead that our string is coming out of, thread through it so our string is coming out on the same side. And then we go through our end bead, and we're ready to begin the next set. We're coming away from the previous row, so we will add the 2 in this order. So we need a background followed by a design. And we're coming out our end bead, so we'll first go through our side bead. Then we'll go through our end bead. Then we want to get to our new end bead, so we'll go through both beads we just added. And as we're coming in towards our previous row, we will also go through our side bead. Now we're coming out the side, so we add the last 2 in this order. So we need 2 background colors. Then we go through just the end bead this time, as we need to decrease for the next row. So instead of going up and around the beads we just added, we want to go away from the beads we just added and then out, and then we want to go through the second bead, which in this case is also the center bead. And now we are ready to add our last 3 beads. Now at this point, if you can't remember which direction you're doing, you want to match up to your pattern, and you can see that you're coming towards the top of the pattern, so you'll add the last 3 in this order. So we need 3 background colors. And when you add 3, you find the bead that your string is coming out of and go through it, so you're coming out on the same side. And there we have our piece. So now we just need to secure. When I secure with the 1 needle stitch, I thread through 6 beads, making sure to turn 90 degrees each time. And I follow path straight from where I began. And once I've gone through 6 beads, I then turn around and I head back the way I came, threading through 6 beads again, making sure to turn 90 degrees for each threading and staying on a straight line back to where I began. And once I have returned, I then clip off the excess. And for the other side, with the monofilament line, I use Scotch tape, so I just slide it right off. And then I do the same thing. I go in 6 beads, making sure to turn 90 degrees with each threading. And I follow a straight line once I've gone out 6 beads, then turn and head back the direction I came from, doing the same, turning 90 degrees and following a straight line. And once I've returned, I then clip off the excess. And there we have a faceted bead art square created with the right angle weave. I hope that you enjoyed.